Namaskar to all. Welcome to the next Sambhashan series. Today I'm extremely happy to have Dr. Shashi Tiwari ma'am with me. Ma'am is actually one of the most eminent Vedic and Sanskrit scholars we have in India today. She is currently the visiting professor of the Hindu University in the United States. And she's also the president of the WAVES, which is the wider association for Vedic studies. And the WAVES conduct so many programs for the propagation and spreading of the Vedic culture, not just in India, but also across different countries across the globe. Ma'am, doctorate in Sanskrit. She was actually the recipient of the Rashtrapati Samman for Sanskrit in 2016, apart from several other awards which she has received. If you actually look at her website, the amount of awards that she's got, the number of publications that she has to her credit, the number of awards she has received, the number of students that she has guided for the research, these are actually too long a list to even say in a few minutes' time. It's impossible to say in that brief. I personally know Shashi Tiwari ma'am because of my association with Waves. I have been, for the last few times, I have presented my articles, my research papers in Waves, and she's been a great encouragement, I must say, for all us youngsters. She gives encouragement to delve on new topics, to present research papers in multiple forums. So, ma'am, I'm extremely happy to have you in discussion today.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste, ma'am. Welcome. Ma'am, like you are, I would say, an inspiration for all youngsters in terms of we getting inspired by your lectures, your speeches, and there must be innumerable students that you have trained, not just in for the doctorate, but also for their postgraduate and graduate and all these. But speaking a bit about your student days, you could tell us something about your teachers and your gurus, and what were the inspiring things you took from them, which helped you shape in the way that you are today.
Yes. It is an interesting question. Generally, you have noticed that in universities, from BA onward,
Yeah.
17 years to 25 or 26 or 27 years age group, students, girls and boys are there.
Right.
So at about 16 or 17, I admitted in Lucknow University directly in Lucknow University. That is called Caning College also for BA level. Very few girls were selected at that time. So I was there because I was having merit list in CBSE.
Right.
So that you reminding me of many years back. And in BA and in MA and then in PhD, all the degrees were from Lucknow University. So our gurus were the same or some changing also. So in BA, I have taken other subjects. Sanskrit was one of them. And then MA, again in MA for MA, when there was a question, which subject you should select. So because I was having archaeology, then ancient history and Bengali and English and Sanskrit. So my father said, you should take Sanskrit because without teacher you cannot learn it. Other subject you can learn. Then I admitted in MA. So my teachers were very disciplined, and we used to have a feeling of fear, some hesitation, some hitch with them, and you will be amazed to know that few girls, I was one of them, I will never try to cross the front door of his room. He may see and he may, where are you going? So we were having a feeling of very fearfulness and always having a distance to our teachers.
Right.
And you have asked about the present days when I was a teacher.
Right,
So
ma'am.
now students, gradually I found that during 40 years, my teaching experience, so they are very free, they are confident, open, they don't hesitate to ask any question. If they have any question, they have any doubt, they will raise hand. Without raising hand, they may ask in the classroom. And they
Right.
may even boycott few teachers' classroom. So when I was working as a HOD, or I will say, don't do like that, don't do, please be in the class. So
Right.
situation has changed a lot. But the
Right.
interesting point is that the age group is the same,
Right.
which was at that time, and even today the same age group students are. So every year you are getting few new lot of young boys, young girls, and this is a good experience. That is why teachers of University of Higher Education are called nation builders, because
Right.
they are teaching youth at the very important age span of their life. So this is my experience regarding today and yesterday's.
And this is great. Ma'am, you mentioned that when you were taking MA, you had multiple options, and you had chosen Sanskrit because it needs some kind of teaching help. Uh, what made you choose the Vedas as a specific area of research? Because you are one of the few Vedic scholars we have in the country. So, what made you choose Vedas as a subject for research? Do you have a
Yeah.
family background, or is there some specific interest area?
Very, very important question. Very important and very true question. Actually, what happened in our family, there is no tradition of Sanskrit learning or teaching. So
Okay.
I was, and I was doing best in all the subjects, and I was a very simple girl, so I cannot decide which subject I should take. So
Right.
after MA, in the MA previous, all students are sitting common
Right.
in a common place, and they are reading everything, all
Right.
subjects they are,
Correct.
all
Correct.
papers are common to them. Then after MA part, in part 2 MA, they have to select one group, and then
Yes.
comes the question, do you want to go to literature or to grammar or to Veda or to Dharma Shastra,
Correct.
or there was Pali Prakrit also in Lucknow University.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
again, I was not able to decide what should I take. Then
Right.
again, I went to my father, and he guided me simply, logically. He said, which of these you cannot read without teacher? So I guess literature I can do,
Hmm.
Natak and Kavya
Correct.
and other things. Kalidas
Hmm.
and Banabhat and Subandhu, I can read myself.
Right.
Then what need a guru? So I said Ved. Without Ved, without teacher you cannot. So Lucknow University was not famous for Vedic, but it
Okay.
was famous for Sanskrit. So I
Ah.
selected Veda group, and from that early age, at the age of 19, I am reading Ved and Vedic literature, and Vedic research is my favorite subject, as you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. And ma'am, it's actually amazing because, as you rightly said, from that age itself, you have been into research of Vedic topics, and there are so many aspects related to Vedas, so
Mm-hmm.
many other subjects and everything. So,
Yes.
ma'am, from your experience of so many years of being in this field and having, been directly or indirectly involved in Vedic research, what do you think is still not explored? What do you think is still not researched enough about the Vedas? Or do you think everything has already been, like, more or less everything has already been done? Or do you think there is something left to be done still?
Mhm. There are many researches, as you know, in Sanskrit, especially in
Yes.
Sanskrit literature and
Right.
in Vedas also.
Right.
Previously, I used to encourage students to take Ved, because there you will get new subjects, lot of
Right.
subjects. So in University of Delhi, I joined in 1972. That after that, few years after, I started guiding research. So I used
Right.
to tell students, take a Veda, and you can do a good research there. And Vedic literature is very systematic. They have
Right.
numbering, they have reference numbers also. So it is very methodical, and your research will be perfectly or original and new also.
Right.
and so it was going on. But nowadays they are repeating topics,
Mm.
and the second trend is that they want to associate it with relevant topics, as
Mm.
environment is there. And
Right.
now there are so many researches done on the topic of environment in Vedas.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
that, when they start water in Vedas, then which is the recent problems of a country or in global problems, they
Correct.
start management. Then one subject was there, apad prabandhan. What is apad prabandhan? Apad prabandhan in Vedas,
Okay.
disaster management.
Disaster
That is
management.
disaster management. So
Yes.
he's trying to find out disaster management in Vedas.
Mm.
So it is good that what is relevant for the present day should
Right.
be tried to get in the Vedas. A few points should be get. And now, as Corona,
Yes.
so again virus, Vishanu, and in Atharveda there is Krimi and other um, viruses are there, and how they can be cured. So they
Correct.
again started researching on this. So it is good, but there should be some scientific background also. They should consult some scientist also. So this is
Yes.
my advice all the time: not do any work isolatedly without uh, any pramanikta, evidence,
Correct.
or authenticity.
Correct.
So multidisciplinary, in other words, we may say
Right.
multidisciplinary action, research, or activity should be there.
Correct. Ma'am, because what you said is very relevant point, because in this attempt to draw relevance for modern topics, many a times they might lead to an inference which is not necessarily the right inference, because they are just trying to superficially study something and trying to make some kind of connection with modern things rather than going deeper into the subject. So I think for this, as you rightly said, somebody who is well versed in both sides of the coin, maybe in the Vedic studies as well as the scientific or management aspect, if they take it up, it might be more relevant
Yes.
for the
And
people.
words also. Etymologically, the meaning of the word should be correct. They should not
Correct.
draw their own meanings, because
Yes.
in Vedas this is a problem. A word has so many meanings. As you know,
Correct.
Nirukta is
Absolutely.
there. So
Absolutely.
you will draw any meaning without
Correct.
any context. This is not good. So
Is not good.
what is Rishi's concept there in the whole hymn, and
Correct.
it should be related with that also. What are you
Correct.
going to say?
Absolutely. Ma'am,
So
I just have,
researchers
yeah,
need, in conclusion, we may say, in
yeah,
modern researchers need some relevance, some importance, and they should try to get it for the benefit of the whole humanity, for our this new civilization. So
right.
then only people will understand the importance of our literary heritage, our ancient culture, etc.
Absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. Ma'am, here's one other point that I wanted to ask you. When we take Vedas and when we have to understand the Vedas, I think probably Sasayana Bhashya is what we have as the most authentic source of translating the Vedas. And so when you did your research and when you have been your experience in Vedic research, other than the Sayana Bhashya, have you found any other kind of literature which has been developed over the years to interpret the Vedas or interpret the different aspects of the Vedas, or do we still treat the Sayana Bhashya as the most authentic source to understand the Vedas?
There are many bhashyas. And
Okay,
my latest book is on Ved Vyakhya Padhati. So
okay,
I found so many Vyakhyakas. And even in our teaching also, we never used only a Bhashyakar,
okay,
because there are so many Bhashyakar. The science is listed in the ancient Sanskrit Bhashyakar, but there
okay,
are modern Hindi Bhashyakar also. There are Western, 200 years they worked on the Vedic
right,
literature,
right,
Westerners,
right,
especially of Germany, London, and France. So
Right.
their literature is available, their translations are available. The whole of the Rig Veda is translated by Geldner in German.
Right.
So there
Right.
are other translations. Then Max Muller has not translated; he has edited only. Then Wilson and Griffith, the whole of the Rig Veda is translated by them. So I used to at least 3 or 4 all the time, not less than that.
Okay.
Previously, I used to go to up to 7 or 8 bhashas, but presently, as
Okay.
standard is going low and low and low, so I am only I gone in my teaching period up to 3 translations, 3 meanings, not
Right.
less than that.
Right.
What is the presently? But they are doing, because you know that Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adhyatmik. So 3 meanings should be there, not less
Correct.
than that.
Not less than that. Ma'am, also, especially when you take up a topic like Vedas, now you have a tradition of Vedic recitation because it has been transferred through oral tradition. So you have the traditional people who chant the Vedas through their gurus they have learned, and then they teach their students. So there is that entire parampara of chanting the Vedas.
Yes.
And then we have academically studying the Vedas, understanding what the Vedas are meaning, the different meanings of the Vedas, drawing the relevance, etc. Ma'am, do you see these two streams merging somewhere, or are they still they remain isolated? Like the people who chant the Vedas, they don't necessarily go towards understanding the deeper meanings, and maybe people who are doing the academic part, they don't necessarily go towards the chanting of the Vedas. Does this happen? Have you seen this kind of thing in the Vedas?
Again, I am surprised how you know this thing, because it is a very, very minute observation. Generally, we found, and it is true also, that the traditional Vedic scholars, whom we say they are in chanting, maybe in
Right.
Banaras, maybe in Kerala, maybe in Hyderabad or Madras or
Yeah.
Chennai. So
Right.
they are chanting the Vedas in the traditional way. When there
Right.
was a Vedic Sammelan in Ujjain,
Hmm.
Vishwa Vedic Sammelan, the people were there, and the whole of the Rig Veda were in their on their kant, and they
Yeah.
used to recite the whole day. They can recite.
Hmm.
Even husband and wife. There was a
Wow.
couple
Okay.
also, because
Okay.
without Yajman Patni, this
Ha,
is
ha.
not complete. So due to that tradition, they both were involved in chantation.
Okay.
But they don't know the meaning. What about research? They don't know the meaning of the mantras. And we people who are doing research in universities,
Yeah.
we know how they are recited. We know all grammar, all udat and udat, swarit prachaya, etc. How the one swar comes after another swar, how they are changed in the part
Correct.
Vedas are there. So
Correct.
theoretically, we teach everything, we know everything, but we
Right.
can't use that practically.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this is a very strange thing, and the reason is that Ved is so wide literature
Right.
and so deep also, that in a lifetime a one person cannot do the both these disciplines. If he is going to enchantation, the
Right.
whole life he will be dedicated for that. If he will
Right.
uh, involve himself or herself in research, he will
Right.
not be able to do justice with it, both the
Hmm.
words. So
Right.
it is better, I think, no problem in this, that we
Right.
respect each other, we meet each other, but
Right.
we don't interfere in each other. And
That's
everyone
very
is have a skill in their own field of work.
right. Right. No, that's very interesting observation, ma'am, and there's a very interesting viewpoint also. Uh, Ma'am, the different people you have met who chant the Vedas, the people who have come from the traditional background, do they have any kind of hesitation in, like you mentioned, of course, that when you were in Ujjain, you saw the husband and wife, both of them were chanting the Vedas. But typically, you see in many traditions there is a hesitation for the women to chant the Vedas. it's said that basically the men only typically chant the Vedas, especially after they're invested after the Upanayanam, after the sacred thread ceremony. So when your discussions, you have met with so many people, is this something that is spread across India, or there are certain traditions that allow for women also to chant the Vedas?
Because in scripture there is nowhere it is written that ladies should not go to Vedas, Vedic learning. Nowhere it is written. It is only said later on, in the later period, in the medieval period, in Puranic period.
Right.
Istri Shudruna Vedo Adhiyatam. Istri and Shudra should not read Ved. So that is a later version due to some historical, some social background reasons may be there. So if anyone wants to go to a Vedic studies or Vedic enchantation, any girl or any women, there is no problem, I think, in whole of the India and whole of the world. When I get Ved Vyas Puraskar of UP government, Chief Minister especially announced, this is Ved Puraskar. And I am the person who is giving first time to a lady. Because that is a very Banaras is there and traditional Pandits are there. So it was very difficult for a women to get all these things.
Right. No, man, absolutely beautiful.
The time is changed. Also, now the time is changed also. So people don't give any importance to all these things.
Right. Ma'am, also, this is again something that I've observed. When we read the Vedas, as you rightly said, of course, you need to read the Vedas with the right kind of translation. You need to understand what is the background context, and then only you can translate it. Literally translating may not give the right meaning all the time. But when specifically there are references, because you have a separate group of people who mentioned that the Varnashrama dharma that is mentioned in the Vedas is dividing the society. It was not the right thing to do. It mentions about Shudras being completely eliminated from society, and they quote different statements from the Vedas, that here it is mentioned that the Shudras should be here. So when you read the Vedas and through all your years of research, what has been your observation and your viewpoint on these aspects of the Vedas, where it mentions about the different varnas, about Shudras and other things? So what has been your viewpoint?
As you know, I know you are a well-read boy and know everything. Purusha Sukta is there in the Rig Veda, and that Sukta is in all the 4 Vedas. Especially you can mention this thing. So there is a mantra which says Brahmanasya Mukhamasid Bahu Rajanyakartaha Urutadasya Dvaishya Padhyam Shudro Ajay. So all the 4 varnas are listed here only for the first time in the whole of the Vedic literature and in the Dasha Mandal of Rig Veda. But here we explain, and one should explain, Brahmanasya Mukhamasid, Asya is Purush, Brahman. So Brahman's God's face is Brahman. So what are the characteristics, what are the activities of the face are assigned to Brahman? Simply this is the meaning. It is not any Varna Vyavastha here. It is only society is divided into 4 parts and their duties are assigned, their characteristics are assigned. Because these characteristics are of a face, we have teeth, we have tongue, so he can speak, he can see, he can hear. So all these things are there. So what faculties are there, what powers are there, that will be utilized. In hand we have strength, we can we can hold something. So hand should do the work of holding, not work of seeing. So this is simple. In Veda, nowhere Varnas are mentioned later in the Brahmanas also, but not in the intention of any uch neech, any higher or lower division of the samaj or the society, but only pertaining their work, job, their activities, their attributes. So these are the importance having there in those narrations. So people should understand. It is again in the later Jati Vyavastha was developed very late, and then Varna Vyavastha was converted into Jati Vyavastha. But Varna is not So very questionable word here. One
Yes.
is simply Varna, Chatur Varna, Maya Srishtam. Krishna says in the
Gunakarma
Bhagavad
Vibhashana.
Gita,
Correct,
Guna
correct,
Karma Vibhaksha. Again, the same thing is there. So
correct.
simple. People are, by I always worried, people should go to origin.
Yes. Yes.
Origin, what is written in our scriptures, what our ancient thinkers have said. We should
Correct.
try to understand that what is their exact words, what is their hidden meaning. Not
Yes.
they should draw their conclusions on. And the people who are drawing wrong conclusions, as you mentioned, they will never listen to us. They will always say like that. So no, nothing can be done with them if they are not
Yeah.
ready
Yeah.
to listen. So
Correct.
Peksha Bhav is better of Patanjali Yoga Sutra for them.
Absolutely.
Ignore, and nothing you can do to them.
Correct. Correct. Ma'am, the other key thing has been for me, like when you read the different angas of the Vedas, Shiksha, Vyakarana, all these, you come across Jyotish Shastra, right? And primarily from the perspective of what is the right time to perform the different Vedic sacrifices or Vedic rituals and rites. But then later on in the society, we have seen this Jyotish Shastra that started off that way has even till now led to horoscopes and forecasting and everything, and everybody thinks everything is the same. So, if you were to just say briefly on this whole thing, ma'am, what would be your few words on this?
Yeah, this is very true what you have said. Initially, Jyotish was meant for the as a science of time, for
Right,
especially for rituals, Vedic rituals to entertain.
right,
What time should be there for any ritual part,
correct,
and for that calculation, astronomy and astrology was needed. So they were developed in
right,
Vedic Jyotish.
right,
Later, this Jyotish is again merged into Halit Jyotish. That is a guess only, as we say. It is a
right,
guess only. Nothing. No one can predict what will be in the future. Only he can guess for what was in the past. So any intelligent person can guess what
right.
was in the past 50 years. Though in another 5 years, the same will be happening.
Yeah, yeah,
If
right,
the train is going in speed, it will go further few minutes into this speed. So that
correct,
is a guesswork. And if a Jyotishi is good, he can guess good. Otherwise, his guess will
yeah,
be failed. So I
right,
don't think Falit Jyotish has any scientific background. It is only the person. It depends on the person who is uh, forecasting
right, right.
his
I mean,
knowledge.
his knowledge, right? I mean, you being this field of Vedic research, and of course, you're also associated with Waves, which aims at spreading this Vedic knowledge across. And what is your assessment of, like today? Are there enough scholars devoting their time to research on the Vedas, or do you think that this is not enough? We need more people to do more research on the Vedas and to further, take it to the next level. Do you think there is enough focus today on the Vedic research which is needed?
Some are focused. We are
Okay.
not disappointed. Some persons are focused in their research. I am talking in the global context. In
Right, right.
US, if you are very serious
Okay.
and very known personalities of
Right,
scholarship.
right, right,
So, but even in younger people, this aptitude is lacking behind. So they should also indulge in more new type of researches. So today, as a scenario is that they are focusing on the priorities of the life are different nowadays. So that is the problem. But I think in the future they again will be serious. I hope so. The younger
right,
people who are working in the Vedic field, there are so
right.
many I know in my group also. Some students are very good, as you
Right.
met yesterday. So
Yes.
they will be at one time they will be serious and they will indulge and they will
Right.
dedicate their whole work and sincerity to research of the Vedas.
Right. Ma'am, during your discussions itself, you mentioned, that is one important characteristic that needs to be there for, especially for somebody doing research in the Vedas, is to always be to the source, always refer to the source or to the origin rather than trying to depend on something that is readily available. Like this, ma'am, what would be the 2-3 things you would say for a person who wants to do Vedic research? What would be the 2-3 suggestions you would give that person that he should definitely adhere to if he is going to do research in Vedas specifically?
Firstly, as you may have already mentioned, there are so many commentators, not
Right.
of only Sanskrit, but in other languages also. Shri Aurobindo is Dayanand Saraswati, Shri Aurobindo is modern time thinkers. They have worked a lot on Vedas. So
Right.
all these views should be in his mind.
Okay.
Not only concentrate on one, because I always say, and you will understand this point, if there are so many explanations, so many vyakhyas, bhashyas, it means the previous one was not satisfying to the new one. That's why he started writing. And this is going on, is still going on. It's still
Yeah.
going on. It means no one has reached to the correct meaning. And which are they not correct? I will say no. They are correct, but they are getting the meaning partially. Every commentator is getting meaning partially, because that is very high meaning of the mantras, and that will be revealed only to those who will be having that same level of consciousness which was the level of the rishi who has revealed that mantra. So it is never possible. It is never possible. So all are trying, all are correct, but partially they are correct. That's why no one is complete, no one is satisfactory. And even in the coming period, coming ages, people will be doing another bhashas, another commentaries. So the person, firstly, he should try to understand as much commentary as he can. Then secondly, he should try to focus on Rishi. Who is the Rishi? Who is the Rishi of that mantra or hymn? Because what is his intention? What is his concept? This should, as Vashisht is there, Gritsmad is Vishwamitra, Vamdev, Vashishta. So they have their own concepts in the whole of the mandala. They are mandalas rishis.
Right.
So if he is saying something in that sukta related to this mantra, then that meaning should be compared. So we say that from Prayog Vidhi, you should try to understand. Where on other places, the same or similar mantra is used in the literature, in the Vedic text. So Rishi is very important. Then Devata is very important. Devata is the subject matter of that mantra. Devata is a name given there. Agni is Devata, Varun is Devata, Surya is, but they are again representing any concept.
Yes.
So we should never forget that what is the Devata of this mantra, is this sukta. Then you will be able to, otherwise it will be isolated, meaning without any context. As it is not a literature, context means meaning is not here like that. Literature meaning natak, it is not a natak who is saying, where is saying, that is not the meaning. But rishis, devata, and the third is chanda. These should be very clear. Then one should indulge in the meaning of the bhashyas, bhashyakaras, and then on fifth level he can take his conclusion. But always remember that Vedic concepts are universal, global. They are not talking of a place, they are not talking of a time, they are not talking of a region, and they are talking only for the welfare of the humanity. No undescent earth can be drawn from the mantra. A true meaning should be there in the mantra. So this attitude one should go to research and not try to get any absurd meaning, irrelevant meaning, which Rishi will never do. He will imposing his own conclusions on the mantra. So this is not a true way for research. For research, he should be sincere. He should have faith. Brahmisht, as has said me, he should be dedicated to the Brahma. Brahma means mantra. Brahma means knowledge. If he has faith in Vedic knowledge, then he should try to understand Veda. If he want to creating fun, if he want to do anything, then he should go to literature or any scripture.
Right.
Or this is not only for our scripture, but scripture of the whole, all religions. The same thing is there.
Right.
Same thing is there. Any religion scripture is respectable for us.
I think this is beautifully explained, ma'am. I think this is very critical. And the reason I asked this to you was also because, as you rightly said, attempting a research on the Vedas or attempting to go deeper into the Vedas, it shouldn't be just like a child play that you just want to do it for entertainment. It should be a serious business, and you really want to understand what is there behind. Only then it should be taken up for the. I think this is what will be helpful for everybody in the society as well, in general.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful, ma'am. So, ma'am, this is what I had from my side, the questions that I had. And I've also been asking you the questions which have been posted also on the comments. Also, I've been asking you in between. So there are many people who have. I think the biggest set of comments I'm receiving is the clarity that they all got. Now on Vedic study means what? How do you approach the Vedas? What are the different aspects of the study of the Vedas? I think this clarity they are deeply appreciating, and they're really happy to know this clarity. And I felt that this clarity, it cannot come from anybody else other than a scholar like you, who has an entire lifetime dedicated for Vedic research. So it has to be somebody from a person like you. So, ma'am, this is great, ma'am. Thanks a lot for this time, for spending this time with us and sharing all this information with us, ma'am. You have any other things you want to share with our audience or anyone?
No, only should be curious. Students should be curious, should be desirous to know more and more and more. Only as you can say, inquisitiveness is necessary for a learner.
That jignasa.
Once it is created in our education system, then it will be throughout life.
Right.
Because it is the seed of the whole system of education laid down by our ancient thinkers.
Right.
Jigyasa.
Correct.
Jigyasa.
Absolutely.
So everyone should develop jigyasa for knowledge, for light, for intelligence, for truth. This is my message.
Absolutely. And I think this is your message is in a very opportune moment as we are fighting the pandemic crisis and multiple things. I think digging back into our own tradition and our own culture, and Vedas, they form the basis of our society itself. So digging back into all this and bringing this is a great message, ma'am. I think this is fantastic, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am, for your time and for your.
Okay, thank you. Sabko namaskar.
Namaskar, ma'am. So, Rasikas, we had a wonderful time with Shashi Tiwari, ma'am. So, until we see in our next Sambhashana series, namaste.